Is this another opportunity to dunk on Rings of Power? Of course it is. And I do not like to pass those up. What's up, my boomers? It's me, Melanie Mac, here on my nerdy commentary channel, Melanie Mac Go Boom. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. So let's dive right into this. This news comes from Bounding Into Comics, which I really like them, and you'll find that I refer to them a lot. Now, this is a rumor, so take it as you will. But let's dive right in. It says, rumor, the Lord of the Rings scholar Tom Shippey fired for telling Prime Video they were polluting the lore. A new rumor claims that Tom Shippey, the Lord of the Rings scholar and former consultant on the Lord of the Rings of Power, was fired from the Prime Video show because he was warning them that they were polluting the lore, which sounds very possible if you ask me. When Prime Video first announced the Lord of the Rings series in July 2019, they revealed Shippey was part of the production as a Tolkien scholar. Why they hired a Tolkien scholar when they clearly did not intend on being accurate is beyond me. I don't understand. All right, let's continue. However, back in February, Vanity Fair led their readers to believe that Shippey was canned for giving an unsanctioned interview to a German fan site where he opined on what the show could and could not explore. Now, this rumor from YouTuber George Malho of YouTube channel George the Giant Slayer claims Shippey was actually canned because he was warning Prime Video that they were polluting the lore. Malho states, I'm now beginning to believe the real reason that Tom Shippey was fired wasn't because he gave some interview to a German magazine that broke his NDA. You get a slap on the wrist for that, which I agree. In my experience working with game companies, stuff like that, seeing stuff like this happen, this does feel like it would have been a slap on the wrist type thing and not actually fired over something like that. But that's just my opinion. He then revealed, it's because I heard from 3 separate sources, that is compelling, that he would weekly tell the Bobbsey twins of Payne and McKay that Prime was polluting the lore. Not only would Malho detail this rumor regarding Shippey's firing, but he would also I have never heard of that word in my life. Okay, Prime Video for including nudity in the show as revealed in a number of behind-the-scenes photos from the production as well as a newly released photo from the show, which I also agree that this was wrong for them to do. Tolkien being, I want to say he's Catholic or Christian, something of that nature. This is very disrespectful to Tolkien. And because that's not something that he would have wanted. So, yeah, very disrespectful, and I disagree with their choice there. Malho says the professor never once hinted at carnal nudity or lascivious sexuality ever in his writing, period. End of statement. He later said, this John Ronald Reuel Tolkien we're talking about, a man who never sold out his writing or what he believed for cheap thrills of exposed nipples. While specifically discussing the images, Malho details this is the exact opposite of what Patrick McKay told Vanity Fair in February. He then quoted Vanity Fair, so will there be Westerosi levels of violence and sex in Amazon's Middle Earth? In short, no. McKay says the goal was to make a show for everyone, for kids who are 11, 12, and 13, even though sometimes they might have to pull the blanket up over their eyes if it's a little too scary. A little too scary? I'm not worried about that. I know a lot of adults who wouldn't let their kids see that. I wouldn't let mine. Absolutely not. Especially as it dishonors the professor's writing. It's repulsive, Malho declared. In letter 131 to Milton Waldman, Tolkien wrote, for reasons I will not elaborate, that seems to me fatal. Myth and fairy story must, as all art, reflect and contain In solution, elements of moral and religious truth or error, but not explicit, not in the known form of the primary real world. I'm speaking, of course, of our present situation, not of ancient pagan pre-Christian days. And I will not repeat what I tried to say in my essay, which you read. Okay. So the Catechism of the Catholic Church makes it clear. All the baptized are called to chastity. The Christian has put on Christ in the model for all chastity. All Christ's faithful are called to lead a chaste life in keeping with their particular states of life. At the moment of his baptism, the Christian is pledged to lead his effective life in chastity. It goes on to identify a number of offenses against chastity, including lust, which is disordered desire for or inordinate enjoyment of sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure is morally disordered when sought for itself, isolated from its procreative and unitive purposes. Okay, this is just defining a lot about that, you know, what's chaste and what's not, and so on and so forth. But regardless, like I said before, I think that it's disrespectful to Tolkien's work to be showing nipples or whatever it may be. So yeah. Ultimately, I believe this rumor very much could be true. And, you know, I'm someone who's actually very passionate about the lore. Okay, I can totally see them reacting in this way, because if I were brought on as a consultant for like a Tomb Raider game, for example, and I saw them absolutely desecrate the lore, absolutely tear apart the backstory, all that kind of stuff for Lara Croft, as they've already done, okay, as they've already done. But let's say they did bring me on, and then I saw all that still going on. I would tell them, I would be honest. I would say, this is polluting the lore. This is just disrespect to the source material. I would be honest about that, and I think a ton of others would as well. Anybody who actually deeply cares about a franchise, you know, they want it to be accurate. So that has to be incredibly frustrating to be brought onto a project for your expertise, but then see them not even care about the lore in general, which says to me that the only reason why they wanted him on there was for his name, so that they could try to gain the trust of fans for having a Tolkien scholar on the team, but not actually listen to him and not actually care about it. It's just all about the name. It's all about the name. It's all about, okay, well, you know, this will gain the trust of the fans. Now, let's look some more. I retweeted this the other day. And this says, Amazon are seriously trying to tell us they spent $58 million per episode on this show. Which, you look at her armor here. This is legit some, like, cosplayer level stuff. And not to say that cosplayers aren't talented. They are very talented. If a cosplayer created this, I would be very impressed. But there's a difference between creating something for a cosplay, walking around a video game convention or something of that nature, versus a movie. Okay? And this ain't it. This looks like some cheap rubber. This looks also right here. It looks like an undershirt with printed scales on it. It is just cheap. Very, very cheap. And for the budget, I don't know where all that went. And here we have a tweet that, a reply here that just shows the comparison. It says, I like this comparison pic, which shows that Peter Jackson and his team put more effort in, which is quite clear. The armor in the Lord of the Rings trilogy was just extremely intricate, extremely impressive. And then when you compare that to this looks like something a cosplayer with an extremely limited budget would have made. And it's sad to see it. And this is why I have so much love for Peter Jackson's trilogies, because he actually cared for the Lord of the Rings. He actually had a heart for it and cared for Tolkien's work. So anyway, there's that. Let me go ahead and dive into a verse of the day I want to share with you guys. John 15:7, it says, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. Somebody on my Discord asked, which by the way, if you want to hop in my Discord, feel free to do so. Check my link tree in the description. I have a link for it. We talk about gaming. We talk about pop culture. We talk about my Go Boom channel and topic suggestions, as well as a prayer request section and a section where you can just talk about the Bible if you want. Somebody asked, is it okay for me to ask God for stuff? And to which I replied, absolutely. The Bible even tells us, God tells us in the Bible that it's totally okay. Go ahead and ask for stuff and let me bless you. That said, as you get, what this says is like, if you're abiding in God and you're getting close to God, you're not going to want to ask for something that goes against God's will. You're not going to ask for something that's going to hurt other people. You're not going to ask for something for purely selfish intent, and so on and so forth. So that is something to keep in mind. But I just thought this was a beautiful thing. So anyway, if you want to dive more into anything I've discussed, whether it be, trash on Rings of Power some more, talk about video games, or put in a prayer request if you need prayer, hop into my Discord server. Again, link in the description. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you all next time, and in the meantime, go boom.